Welcome, Pewter Report readers, viewers, and listeners to a brand new edition of the Pewter Report podcast, energized by Celsius. We are in the middle of the week. It is a Wednesday edition of the show, and we turn our attention to week 2, a pivotal, coveted matchup between two bitter, and I mean bitter, NFC South rivals. Of course, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the reason why everyone's watching here, and the New Orleans Saints. It's been tough sledding for the Bucs in the regular season with the Saints, but we'll see if they can end the streak going into Sunday's game at 1 o'clock. I'm your host, Matt Matera, and joined with me is, also from PewterReport.com, Scott Reynolds. And Scott, it's time. It's finally the week that we've all been waiting for. Bucs Saints. It's been very lopsided in one direction for the Saints, but nonetheless, there's always a lot of extra juice this week, a lot of extra, motivation and just bad blood between these two teams. So it should be a very exciting contest on Sunday.
Yeah, it should, Matt. And what I like about today's show is I really think this is probably going to be the best Pewter Report podcast we've ever done. I feel really good about that. Don't feel so good about this Bucs Saints game, right? I'm just tired of picking the Bucs to win, and they don't. So I'm going to do everyone a favor. I'm going to pick the Saints to win this week. And one of two things is going to happen. Either the Saints are going to win. I'm going to look like a genius for picking the Saints again. Or the Bucs are going to win, and then it's going to be because of me, because I picked against them, and I was the hater, and then everybody on Sunday night's podcast can rub it at my face. But then secretly I'll be really happy because I'm really tired of the narrative of this team losing to the Saints. I just am. And I was talking to some players today, and even some Bucs personnel, even some support staff people that aren't players, they're sick and tired of the Saints too. They're tired of losing to New Orleans and having this. It's not even a rivalry anymore, really. It's not. I mean, they're in the same division. This is no rivalry. I mean, a rivalry is where you kind of get some back and forth. But this has been so one-sided that the Saints are still the bully on the block. I mean, the Buccaneers won the NFC South last year, but didn't even beat the Saints to do it. I mean, they got swept again. So the last time they won was actually in New Orleans. It was the season opener back in 2017. Ryan Fitzpatrick was your quarterback, throwing for over 400 yards, and I want to say probably accounted for 4 touchdowns in that game. I know he ran for 1. It's just been a long time, man. It's just been a long time coming, and I want to feel like I think the game plan is going to be good. Right? I like this game plan better than the game plan that they've had in years past. And I was not out there watching practice today. I don't have any privy and insight into what the Bucs are actually going to do this week. But based on what I saw last week, if you want to run the ball, and we've been saying this even before camp started, they re-signed Leonard Fournette at $7 million for a reason. They're going to use him. They drafted a run-blocking right or left guard in Luke Gedeke and traded for a run-blocking right guard in Shaq Mason for a reason. They want to run the ball. They want to be more balanced on offense. Matter of fact, the last time the Bucs beat the Saints, when it counted the most, was in the playoffs in 2020. And in that particular game, they won by in large part because they ran the ball and they won the turnover battle. That's been the biggest key for the Saints, is creating turnovers, getting those takeaways on defense. If you look at Tom Brady's numbers, he's been absolutely mortal. And Dennis Allen's defense scheme and the players have made the plays. Brady has thrown 6 touchdowns and 8 interceptions in those games. Also lost a couple of fumbles. He's been sacked 13 times total in the 4 games in the regular season Brady has played against the Saints. And I'll say this, in every one of those games, he has not been sacked fewer than 3 times. So this Saints defensive line will get to him, and if they don't get to him, the secondary will pick him off. That's been the MO in these games. So something has to change. Brady has thrown the ball 36 times, 38 times, 40 times, 48 times. When you try to get into a shootout with the Saints, it hasn't worked out. The one time they've beaten the Saints, Brady was throwing for 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, under 200 yards. I think he threw for 199 yards. And he only threw the ball 33 times. So I think this game plan, which is to run the ball, be more balanced, play defense, I like their chances, but they got to execute.
And you talk about all the times that Tom Brady has been sacked in the past in these games, and that comes from an offensive line that their strength is blocking and the run blocking struggle. So it's completely flipped on the other side. And winning that game in the playoffs went a long way for, as much as we talk about all of the, the house of horrors that it's been, whether going to New Orleans or playing them at Raymond James Stadium, all of the losses, while it's still kind of a stigma, and we talked about it a lot today in the locker room with the Bucs players, winning that playoff game and, of course, winning the Super Bowl bought them a lot of a slack when it comes to just all of their transgressions when it comes to playing against the Saints. And we're definitely going to see a different Bucs team. I think Bucs fans and even the media, too, is still kind of getting used to the fact, and Scott, you were one of the first people to talk about how the Bucs are going to run the ball more, but I think people are still in such shock being like, hey, the Bucs have Tom Brady and all these talented receivers. How are they and why are they running the ball so much? But I think that's the key to go up against a Saints team that obviously has had the Bucs number. And even though they didn't get any sacks last week, I think that's a little bit because of the opponent they were playing with, the Falcons. Marcus Mariota is without question a much more mobile quarterback than Tom Brady, as much as we love talking about, the mobility of Tom Brady when he does escape the pocket and run forward. And talking about things that we love, of course, we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about Celsius Energy Drink, the title sponsor of the Pewter Report podcast. We love the different flavors that Celsius has. You see the Arctic Vibe, peach, and tropical. You could also go the cola route. I know Scott is a big fan of the cola. You also have the sparkling quinoa, water, many different flavors, but also a healthy energy drink. It doesn't give you those post-energy drink jitters or that crash that you might get with others. It's a healthy energy drink, 7 essential vitamins and a variety of different flavors. Gives you essential energy, whether it's through a work day, a workout, a long drive, whatever it may be. So make sure you go to Celsius.com, click on the store locator, and find out where there's a Celsius near you, because it is expanding. It is all over the place. I know I can go down the street and get myself a Celsius if I wanted to. Or another thing you could do, if you like the convenience of getting something delivered straight to your house or apartment, you can go to Amazon and have and buy in bulk. Variety is the spice of life. I would recommend the variety pack. You have it sent to your house every 2-3 weeks, whatever it may be. Just make sure you're drinking Celsius energy drink. Celsius, live fit, the providing sponsor of the Pewter Report podcast.
Yeah, and Matt, I know that's there's some fans out there that say, well, Tom Brady and all these different weapons, they can sling the ball around the yard. They've tried that approach before, and it's not like the Bucs aren't going to throw the ball. They are, but it's difficult because I don't know how much you can take away from what the Falcons did, other than looking at Cordero Patterson. Right, he had 120 yards on the ground. So the Falcons as a whole ran for over 200 yards against the Saints, but 70 of that was Marcus Mariota.
Yeah.
I might pencil Tom Brady in for 7 yards, but not 70, maybe 17 if he's feeling a little spry at age 45. He's had a couple of runs before, but he's also fumbled a couple times against the Saints too. Really in that last game as well, which was a 9-0 fluke game. And I started to go back and look at that game, and it just didn't really even make any sense because of two things. Number one, Taysom Hill was at quarterback that game, not Jameis Winston. They didn't have the weaponry that they have now with Chris Olave. Michael Thomas wasn't playing in the game. They didn't have Jarvis Landry. This is a completely different Saints attack. You're going to see more than 9 points out of the Saints offense. And hopefully you're going to see more than 0 from Tampa Bay's offense, because that was the game where they lost Mike Evans early, of course, Chris Godwin for the rest of the season. They also lost Leonard Fournette, Levante David at the end of the game. So that was a very costly game for the Saints, or I should say for the Buccaneers, with the Saints doing a lot of damage, adding some injury to the insult of that 9-0 game. So it's hard to kind of take away things from that particular game. It's also hard to take away things from the Falcons Saints game, just because the Saints do so much bootleg. The one thing I will say is they used an awful lot of play action, and I do think that's one thing that Tom Brady and this Bucs team will do more of, and that you saw some of it last week against the Cowboys, is using some play action, and I think that's the right approach to the Saints. I know that in this day and age, there are, the stat nerds and the analytics people that believe wholeheartedly that the running game is just inconsequential, and that you can get more by throwing the ball. And listen, I'm actually a proponent of throwing the ball more on first down and running it on second. I would rather flip the script than Byron Leftwich, who likes to run the ball on first down.
Yeah,
I would much rather see this team be in 2nd and 4, and then had that be a rundown. And maybe you get 4 yards, you move the chains, you avoid third downs altogether, or you get 3 yards and now you're in 3rd and 1, of which case Byron would go empty.
Yeah.
Shotgun for no reason. I can't stand that part of the play calling. To me, 3rd and 2, 3rd and 1 is a run or pass down. Don't tip off the defense and go empty. That's one thing I can't stand about this offense. But I will say this. What the running game does, the value, especially when you have a team that historically, whether it's Marcus Davenport rushing against Donovan Smith, in this case it might be Josh Wells. It looks like it's going to be Josh Wells, but Marcus Davenport's a player that has wreaked havoc for the Saints against the Buccaneers. Whether it's David Onyemata, it doesn't get any easier for Luke Gedeke in his second start to go up against a player like Onyemata, who's hell of a player. You see Cam Jordan there. He's had some battles with Tristan Wirfs. They can throw Carl Granderson in there, who is a pass rush specialist. He got a sack last year against Tom Brady, rushing from the right side against the left tackles. So when you've got a team that has some pass rushers up front, I like the fact that if you run the ball and you're consistently doing it, you're going to wear those defensive linemen down, right? It's almost like you want to see Micah Parsons as a tackler, not as a pass rusher, right? We saw what Micah Parsons, the pass rusher, can do. He got 2 sacks on 3rd downs in the red zone, forced 2 field goals, ended 2 drives. The Saints have got pass rushers galore up front. They're not as explosive as Micah Parsons, Matt, but they can still get the job done. And historically, they have gotten the job done against the Buccaneers. So if you can establish the run and wear those guys down physically, they're not going to have the juice in the 4th quarter to get to the quarterback. And what might have been a sack if they were at kind of full tilt might only be a pressure, and yet Tom Brady still gets the ball off. That's the difference, and that's where the attrition and the physical wear and tear that an offensive line and guys like O'Keefe and Cade Otton and Cam Brate, they can they can wear down that Saints defensive front, and that's kind of what we saw in that playoff game back in 2020. And you saw the Buccaneers have quite the day on the ground in that they ran for, they had 189 yards passing against the Saints, and they ran the ball for 127 yards and a touchdown on 35 carries. I think if the Buccaneers can somehow get back to that script, they won the game 30-20, and of course they won the turnover battle. They picked off Drew Brees 1, 2, 3 times in that game. If they can force fumble, a huge fumble by Antoine Winfield Jr., if they can follow that script, run the ball, get some takeaways on defense, play it conservative, even play it safe on offense, and just not make those errors, especially in the passing game, they have a chance. But they got to do it. Got to do it before I can pick them.
Right. It's all about winning the game. It's not like college football where you have to win with style points.
Right.
Like, I don't care if the Bucs muck it up, make it muddy, and I mean they're indoors, but hypothetically muddy, and it's a grind it out type of game, but they end up winning. That's really all that matters. And running the ball is a perfect way to neutralize that pass rush. It's something I actually talked to Tristan Wirfs today about. Obviously, they're going to rely on Leonard Fournette, who he called a horse when he runs the ball, which I thought was kind of funny. Yeah. But to your point, when you talk about the frustrations of Byron Leftwich going empty on a 3rd and short. That lets the defensive line know, okay, we're going to go after the passer on this play. So it's the perfect way to neutralize a really good pass rush, despite the fact that the Saints did not have a sack last week. They were 8th in the NFL last year with 46. That was one less than the Bucs had at 47. So this is still a team that can get after the passer. And, the Saints were pretty stout. Again, we always talked about how week one is crazy thing once rushing yards, but a lot came from Mariota. Last year they were still 4th best in stopping the run last season at 93.5 yards per game. So this is a team that predominantly can stop the run with the exception of last week. So you're kind of going a little bit of strength against strength here. I would say just overall the Saints defense, brings a lot to the table. So it's not just like they're good at stopping the run, and that's about it. But the Bucs are going to have to play to the fact that they're better running the ball with the offensive line. So that's going to be key. And again, if you keep running it, that stops the rest of the pass rush from just, licking their chops, pinning their ears back and going up against Tom Brady, passing the ball a ton of different times. So here's Tristan Wirfs talking about neutralizing that pass rush. Talks a little bit about Leonard Fournette as well. And there's a little bonus part about him talking about Micah Parsons having his grievances with the chip block from last week.
Yeah, that's what Coach Bowles was saying the other day. It's not a rivalry unless there's some give and take. So, hopefully we can, give it back to him and get it back to a real rivalry. But yeah, we did get him when it counted, my rookie year. But we see him twice a year, every year. So got to have some back and forth at least.
They didn't have a single sack of Marcus Mariota against the Falcons. They did have one quarterback hit. Was that surprising to you at all? Because they're a pretty tough group up front.
Yeah, they're a good defensive front. Their front fours, they're big, strong guys. So, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to keep 12 safe back there, and it's our goal to come out Sunday and hopefully shut them down.
How much can you help neutralize that pass rush by running the ball more, especially considering how effective you guys were in the first game on Sunday night?
Yeah, I think running the ball, the more we run the ball, kind of the more it tires them out, and we kind of pound on them a little bit. I think as a defensive end or defensive lineman, that's what you get paid to do is rush the quarterback. So, it's nice when we, if we're throwing the ball a ton, that's what we're just playing into their hands. So, hopefully we get the ball moving, and that's on us up front too. We got to give them the opportunity to call those plays and get us those opportunities. So it's going to be on. I think a lot of the game's going to be on the offensive line, and we're going to hopefully step up to the challenge.
And it seems like you wore out. It seems like you.
I think it's a big thing. Lenny carries the rock like a horse. So. That's what we want to do. All it does is help us. It kind of slows down their pass rush, and that's what these guys this coming week are good at. So, I think the more we can hit the ground running, it'll be better for everybody.
A horse, huh?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, he's crazy. He's so strong. He runs people they didn't want to tackle him at the end of the game. They're like, no, they're just falling on the ground. Somebody said they were acting like they're on fire. They stopped, dropping, and rolling in front of them. So.
Well, Micah Parsons too. You see that block that he put on him?
Yeah, that was a good chip. That was a really good chip. I seen all that beef too on Twitter about it. I was like, if they don't want to get rid of chip blocks, then they should stop running twist games. It's the same thing. So, but it is what it is. Lenny was running hard, and hopefully we can do the same thing for him this week.
How tough is Tom?
Yeah, Tristan Wirfs essentially said verbatim what you were just talking about. Absolute run, and that tires them out for the third and fourth quarter.
Yeah, it's key, and that's something that doesn't show up in analytics, right? I mean, there's a couple of things: momentum, grit, attrition. Those are things that are really hard to kind of quantify, and it's just like when you're doing draft evaluations, right? You see guys that have heart, and we saw that even with Logan Hall, right? He chased in the end of the preseason in that Colts game.
Yes.
Chased down, earlier 47 yards down the field. That's not going to show up at the combine, right? You're not going to have measurables on that.
Yeah.
You have that want to, that dog in you, or you don't. And that's where the running game does still have value in this league is, when you drop back to throw it, some good things can happen, especially when you got Tom Brady and Julio Jones and Mike Evans. I'm not denying that. And I'm not saying don't throw the ball, but to do it strategically. And one of the things that the Saints did a lot of, or I should say the Falcons did, and this contributed to the Saints not having any sacks last week, was going max protection. There was a couple times that I saw when I was skimming through that film, and I watched it live on Sunday, and then I went back and watched parts of the game, and they would do max protect where they would literally have two-man routes, right? And on one of those plays, Werner, Pete Werner, the linebacker, who had the most tackles, actually forced a fumble on that play, but that was literally a 2-man route. So I'm all for that. I think sometimes, whether it's Byron Leftwich or Bruce Arians or both or whoever, they would kind of, try to go 5 targets for Brady. And only have him being protected by 5 guys. And what you're doing is you're creating one-on-ones. If they blitz DeMario Davis, if they blitz, a defensive back off the slot, and you got Tyrann Mathieu who can get in there and do some blitzing too, and he's not playing free safety. All you're doing is you're creating one-on-ones up front. And when you have guys like Luke Gedeke in his rookie season, Robert Hainsey in his second start, Shaq Mason, who's in his second game in this system, and there's a couple plays where Shaq Mason got beat last week, even though he's an experienced guard, and you got Josh Wells, who's your backup left tackle. You're asking for it if you put those players in one-on-one situations too often. So I'm all in favor of max protect. You got some tight ends that can block on this team now. Otten Kieft, Cam Brate can get in there and dig in and help with a double team. So I'm all for using Julio Jones and Mike Evans, as some 2-man routes in this game. Not all the time, obviously, but here and there, and using some play action. But be very methodical with the times that you're calling for the passing game, and just run the hell out of the ball and try to win the battle in the trenches.
I'm totally with you. I think whether it's cockiness or bravado, you want to call it either one, but sometimes the play calling, it seems like, okay, yeah, we're fine with just having, good on good with the offensive line and not really providing help. And you really saw it rear its ugly head when Donovan Smith was out of the game, and Parsons just devoured. Well, see if Smith plays this game, and if not, but if Wells is in there, I mean, you can't go a majority of the game having him block one-on-one against, whether it's Cam Jordan or Davenport. I'm sure they might move Jordan around here and there. Yeah. You're signing up Tom Brady to hit the ground like double-digit times if you're just going to have Wells go one-on-one. So I really don't think you can go and do that. And as you said, like Keeft was great, lining up both at fullback and at tight end. I asked him if he preferred one over the other, and he's like, literally, I'll just do what the coaches ask me. Like, I don't care. I'll line up anywhere. I have no issues at all if max protect, not every single time, but you can't just go one-on-one every single time, especially whether it was Parsons last week or some of the great pass rushers and defensive players. DeMario Davis, I'm personally a big fan of. You can't go one-on-one with these guys. It's really going to set you up for failure. The Bucs are at the point right now, and I understand it's early in the season. Yeah. They can't go and drop back 40 to 45 times. It's just the way it is right now with the new offensive line, especially if Wells is in there. There will be a time later in the season where, they can rely more on the passing game. But why break? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And why mess with something that worked to a T? Over 150 rushing yards, 127 for Leonard Fournette. It was a great formula. It worked to a T. Right. You got to keep it going for this game and take advantage where you can with the strength of the offensive line.
Yeah, and here's the thing, too. If you get behind in this game, guess what? You're going to have to pass the ball. So maybe pass the ball on the regular when you need to, right? Mm. But early on, probe them on the ground. See if you can find some of those cracks in the Saints' armor, as Cordero Patterson did on for 120 yards on over 20 carries, including a touchdown. And I again, it's a different offense, right? You can't look at the Mariota part of it and the bootlegs and that type of passing game, because that's not Brady's thing. He's a pocket passer, et cetera. But I will say this: when Keeft was in there, by my count, he accounted for 62 of the rushing yards when he was on the field, either as a fullback or in that as a wingback, or that jumbo tight end look that Josh Capo had in his Bucs film room, which is a must-read article today, by the way. Folks, if you have not checked out our content on pewterreport.com, please do so. We feel like we get the best Bucs coverage around. Hopefully you'll agree. I know we have a lot of people on the podcast here that watch the podcast, check us out on social media. Make sure you're going to the website. breaking news, inside scoop, game coverage, expert analysis. We dive heavy into free agency and draft coverage. Nobody does the Bucs offseason like we do at Pewter Report. And make sure you're following us on our social media handles at Pewter Report on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And of course, here on YouTube, it's Pewter Report TV. Make sure you're subscribing and make sure you like our videos too that Matt puts up and Casey. And we had Josh do the Touchback Tuesday, which was a great interview with Antoine Winfield Jr. that's going to be coming out on the regular, which would be cool. And of course, these podcasts. So make sure you're hitting the like button. That helps our algorithm, helps us get in front of more Pewter people.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of great content coming up. We had some. We actually posted a video right before this with Carlton Davis and Michael Thomas, which of course we will be talking about later. That was a lot of great stuff. That we
also too, right? We would be remiss if we didn't talk about his famous tweet too. This was a tweet from Carlton Davis, and I want to say this was January 24th of 2021. So this was when Michael Thomas wasn't playing for the Saints, and this was Carlton Davis, and he said, "Can't guard Mike. I bodied you 3 games in a row, little dude, and cover 1 goofball, and I'm going to dog your little ass again next year, so you better work on them routes."
And he didn't even get to play against them because Michael Thomas missed the entire season with an
exactly. He missed the 2021 season. So now Michael Thomas, though, he did come back with a vengeance. He had 2 touchdowns in Sunday's win. Jameis Winston looked really bad for the first 3 quarters, but this guy really turned it on in the 4th quarter when it counted, and that was certainly good for the Saints because they were down 16 points. This was the first time they have come back to win, a game that they were trailing by 16 points in the 4th quarter in their history. I think they were 208-0 in terms of losing those games. So you had a comeback there, and that was pretty special win for the Saints. But again, we talked about this the other day, Matt. The Falcons have just perfected the art of the choke. You can always count on the Falcons blowing a lead in the 4th quarter.
You can. It is their MO. They have it essentially tattooed on themselves at this point. We will choke in the 4th quarter. Happens every single time. The Mariota fumble when it was 3rd and about 1.
Yeah.
And as we just
right on cue.
They ran for 200 yards in the whole game, and they couldn't convert a 3rd and 1 because he
couldn't get the handoff.
He couldn't. It became a huge issue. And if you wanted to live bet the Saints in that game, you probably would have made a lot of money. But I would, obviously Bucs fans are here. You might want to bet on the Bucs this week when they play the Saints. If you're going to go and do that, you should be doing it at mybookie.ag. And of course, the Bucs and Saints play on Sunday. There is a Thursday night game this week. Excited that that's back. It's a pretty good matchup too between the Chargers and the Chiefs. So as they prepare for battle of the AFC West on Thursday night, you can prepare for your winning season at MyBookie. Some like to bet and earn to make the season more exciting. Either way, MyBookie gives you the most for your money with a double deposit bonus. It's quick and easy. A $250 deposit puts $500 in your account instantly. Even if you learn from Plant City math, you can figure that out. You use your funds to bet on as many games, contests, and props as you want. To claim your bonus, register today and use the promo code Pewter. And that is designed to add more excitement to the games and sports that you love. That's promo code Pewter to double your money up to $1,000 with MyBookie. It's only week 2 of the NFL season, which means there's still plenty of time to get in on the action. Do not miss out. Begin your winning season today exclusively at MyBookie. Once again, that promo code is Pewter, Pewter.
We try to make it easy for everybody, right?
Yeah. Scott, should we go ahead.
Just a little friendly reminder here from Adam Davies. Hit that thumbs up button, guys. We always appreciate that. Thank you so much.
I was going to say, let's show the Carlton Davis video. He was asked by multiple people about playing Michael Thomas, the overall, beef with the Saints. And he talked a little bit about that tweet that you had mentioned a minute ago. So about to play the video in a moment. Might be a little bit louder, so just make sure you adjust your volume if in that case, if it's a little too loud. But here's Carlton Davis talking about the highly touted matchup with Michael Thomas.
With Mikey Thomas, what challenges does he impose? Yeah,
I believe you know. I believe you have a special nickname for him.
I mean, you know, I mean, he got a wide radius, catch radius. That's about it.
Carlton, do you respect him?
Huh?
Do you respect him?
Do I respect him?
Yeah.
Yeah, I respect everybody, of course. I respect everybody who puts on their pads and get out there. Yeah.
Some unnamed receivers over there.
I mean, you know, for us, it's another divisional game that we need to win. And, you know, they do some good things. They made some off-season adjustments with their personnel. But nevertheless, we got a job to do, and we're going to go out there and do it. At the end of the day, you know, we got to get this win. And if they want to pass the ball, then by all means, pass the ball. I'm ready.
You're ready? But I mean, we see some of that trash talk on social media.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you know, sometimes get real sticky. So, you know, I'm not really a trash talker, especially like over social media. That's not really my thing. I guess the emotions kind of got caught up in it, but you know, during the game, it is what it is. It is what it is during the game. You know, emotions are high, and we're out there playing ball, so it'll be whatever it is. It's going to be. You know,
How difficult?
I love that guy.
You can just
love that guy.
sense how much he doesn't like Michael Thomas.
Yeah.
I was cracking up at the laugh because it's one of those, like, you know, he's trying to keep it PG. You know, he's not going to be like F that guy.
Yeah, he's trying not to give him any bulletin board material, right?
Yeah, but it's just like you know, if you're like an awkward situation and you don't know what else to do besides start laughing, you can just really tell how much he doesn't like this guy, to the point where it's like, oh, what does Michael Thomas bring to the game? Like, yeah, you got a catch radius.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I asked him, I said, do you respect him? Because, I mean, the tweet that he put out there was pretty disrespectful. Not that I disagree with it or mind it. I love Carlton Davis. I love that dude. That he's a phenomenal defensive player, great cornerback. And the thing is he said, I respect anybody that puts on the pads and puts on the uniform. And I almost like, maybe I'm reading too much into this, but the fact that Michael Thomas didn't play last year, right? Yeah. Because you know, it's almost like I respect guys that, you know, actually want to play. I think that's how I took it. Maybe I'm reading too much into it. What do you guys think? I don't know. I'm ready for this matchup more than any of them. I think this is going to be good. Now, of course, at the same time, the Saints, just like the Buccaneers, they'll move Mike Evans around. You're not going to see Carlton Davis on Michael Thomas on every play, right? I think that the way Todd Bowles likes to play things is Carlton Davis is the left corner, Jamel Dean's the right corner. You get confidence in both guys. You're going to see a fair amount of those battles, and I think that Carlton Davis is going to win the fair amount of the battles that he goes up against Michael Thomas. He's just ready to play right now. The one thing he did say, though, is this is a game where the emotions run high, and we've seen the emotions, especially the last time they were in New Orleans, get a little too high. And I remember asking a couple of players this offseason, what's been the problem? Yeah. Why have the Saints beaten you? And I want to say maybe it was Winfield. Maybe it was Winfield.
Barrett was asked.
Or maybe it was Shaq Barrett. I asked a couple guys this during
Donovan
the offseason
as well.
And they said that they feel like they get too high for this game. They feel like they make it too much of a big deal. And they get too amped up and too emotional, and they kind of lose focus. And you saw those 3 penalties, those 3 personal fouls from Devin White last year. Those were detrimental penalties. So they've got to play with a cool, confident, level head, because honestly, that's how the Saints play. The Saints do not fear the Buccaneers, not one bit. And why would they? Whether it's in Tampa on a 38-3 shellacking on Sunday Night Football at Raymond James Stadium, or whether it's in their own dome, they're just not afraid of the Buccaneers because they beat them, and they have done so 7 straight times in the regular season.
Yeah, so that's why I was curious about some of the answers that we heard today. Like the video earlier from Tristan Wirfs, you know, he said, you know, Todd Bowles, he was quoting Todd Bowles essentially saying that well, it's not a rivalry if only one side keeps winning. And Devin White spoke today as well. And obviously they asked about losing to the Saints so many times and what would it mean if they won. And he pretty much said, like, if they won, it just means they're 2-0. It doesn't really establish anything. He talked a lot as well about how he doesn't feel that they have to prove anything to the Saints, despite the fact that they've lost so many times in the regular season. So,
I don't believe that.
I
think it's good lip service from Devin, but I don't believe it.
It's one thing if they're just not trying to create headlines on
Right.
camera. But
Smart.
I was thinking about the other side of it, of maybe they came together as a group, and to your point, everything that you asked them, back in June or whatever it was before training camp even started, the fact that they get too overhyped and maybe overthink, and that's caused mistakes and penalties and everything like that. Maybe they're really trying to take an effort of, we have to, I know it's a divisional game and it's for first place, even though it's this early in the season,
right?
But we really do just have to treat it like another game. And that way they don't get it in their heads. It was something that I was thinking about, coming home today after leaving the locker room and the Bucs facility. I don't necessarily know if that's the case, but I think it's something to think about.
I'll say this, and we've already seen in week 1 just some philosophy differences from Todd Bowles and Bruce Arians, just in running the ball and playing good defense. And I almost think that maybe Todd Bowles is the better head coach in this situation, because he is a little bit more like calm and level-headed. He almost has a little bit of Tony Dungy in him, right? Just that kind of quiet confidence about him. But then at the same time, he will not in press conferences or maybe to referees like Bruce Arians would, where Bruce would just lose his cool and just blow up, and get all red-faced and all that. And I love that. I love coaches like him and John Gruden that get animated like that. They're just fun to cover. But with Todd, he has some of that, smack talk, trash talk about him, but it's so low key. It's almost like Carlton Davis, right? And I just wonder, like, if maybe the temperament, the tone that Bowles is setting this week is one more of, guys, this is business, attention to details. It's not the, payback. We're going to get these guys. We're going to turn the table.
Get red in the face and
right. Not focused on the 0-7. Not focus on the fact that it's a divisional game. Even it's just, this is the next opponent, and they are the Saints. And if we take care of our business, if we play like we're supposed to, it's more about us than it is the Saints. And I think maybe in years past, it's been more about the Saints than it is the Buccaneers, and that kind of has gotten into Tampa Bay's head. I could be wrong, but that's just the feeling I get from Bowles and talking to the players in the locker room, and the vibe this week, and how it's just a little bit different so far than it has been in years past when the Bucs have gone up against the Saints.
I totally understand what you're saying. That's been the mantra in these losses by the Bucs to the Saints. A lot of it is just the fact that the Bucs are beating themselves, committing turnovers that they don't normally do, having the ball with the game on the line with Tom Brady, which 9 times out of 10 you're going to score and win the game. Right. But against the Saints, they turn the ball over. So maybe it's just something where the Bucs kind of just need to chill out a little bit, just chill and relax. And I know one way that I like to hang out and chill and relax is by having a Pirate Republic beer.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. I'm actually having one right now, Matt. I didn't wait until the promo. I've actually been drinking this Long John Pilsner. It's fantastic. Folks, if you're looking for, a new beer to try, this is going to be one of your mainstays. Let's just talk about the Long John Pilsner. 4.5%, packs a little bit of a punch for a Pilsner. It's the lightest beer, the most crisp and refreshing beer that they have. This is the kind of beer that you can drink on a hot day, whether it's tailgating at the game, whether it's you want to pack the cooler full of beer, take it to the beach, to the pool. This is the one that's crushable. You can go, throw back a couple of these. It's not too heavy. It's just got that light, crisp, refreshing taste. And it really is a flavorful beer. It is the best tasting Pilsner that I've had. One of the best tasting beers that I enjoy. And Pirate Republic, they're the official beer of Pewter Report. Live life on your own terms. That's how they want you to live. you're fans of a Pirate football team, you kind of have a Pirate swagger about yourself as a Tampa Bay fan, why not drink a Pirate beer? Pirate Republic, brewed in Nassau, Bahamas, and enjoyed here in the Tampa Bay area. You can find them at favorite retail stores participating Total Wine and More, ABC Liquors, Lucan's Liquors, and Party Liquors. And we would be remiss if we didn't also mention that on Wednesdays, because defense wins championships, Matt, we have a new segment called Plunder. And with this segment here, presented by Pirate Republic, we're going to talk about the leaders of the Buccaneer defense when it comes to interceptions, sacks, takeaways, because again, let's remember that the defense wins championships. So right now, you've got Devin White as your early leader with 2 sacks.
Yep.
He's also one of the top leading sackers in the league with 2 sacks. You've got Vita, who only had 4 sacks last year. He's already off to a hot start with 1. He beat Logan Hall to 1 sack. And I got a funny feeling JTS is going to get his first sack of the season. And maybe even Logan Hall as well. We'll talk about the defense here in just a second. And then, of course, the other sack, Anthony Nelson, right? Picking up where he left off with a sack. The Bucs had 1 takeaway. It was good enough to win the turnover margin against the Cowboys. That was Antoine Winfield Jr. Carlton Davis was a little pissed today. He admitted that he was getting ready to pick off that pass, and Winfield stepped right in front of him. So, of course, that sack happened because of pressure from Shaq Barrett and JTS that forced a quick errant pass by Dak Prescott. And that's one thing, too, that the Bucs are going to have to get some pass rush going against the Saints. And that was really an area where the Falcons, especially Grady Jarrett, was able to come home. And the tackles, Ryan Ramczyk, he's a tough out, right? I mean, that's a Pro Bowl right tackle. James Hurst filled in for Trevor Penning, and he gave up a sack to Arnold Ebiketie from the Falcons, the rookie. Yep. But the one thing about the Saints that you can kind of count on is they're a little soft in the middle of the guard position, right? Cesar Ruiz did not have a good game. He gave up a couple of sacks, and you had Andrus Peat, the other guard. Both of those guys were 2 of the lowest graded Saints players, not just on the offensive line, but on the offense by Pro Football Focus. So they're strong at center, Eric McCoy. They've got some strength at the tackle positions, but the guard spots are their weaknesses. And, Vita Vea, Akeem Hicks, Logan Hall, Will Golston, the defensive line as a whole did not have a great game against the Cowboys. They did enough, especially after they made some adjustments after the first quarter, to kind of shut down the run. We saw Vita Vea get the sack, but we didn't see too many one-on-one wins or tackles for loss by the defensive line. I think that might change this week because these 2 guards, I mean, neither one of these guys is Zach Martin. And I think that Akeem Hicks, this might be a game where he gets the best of Cesar Ruiz. I think we're going to see this kind of be the coming out party in Tampa Bay for Akeem Hicks this week.
Yeah, we were all excited about, how Akeem Hicks looked in the preseason, and the coaches obviously have been hyping him up. And he wasn't a disappointment by any means in the game against the Cowboys, but he didn't do, I think, what many of us were hoping to see from him in that first game. Logan Hall, there's a video that friend of the program, Stephen Che, had put out about him beating Zach Martin, getting a tackle for a loss. So very exciting to see what Logan Hall can do against a much inferior opponent when it comes to the Saints offensive line. And, we talked about earlier, Josh Capo has some great film breakdowns of just multiple different Bucs players. That's on pewterreport.com right now. Josh also cut up some tape of the Saints offensive line and defensive line. We'll show you the Saints offensive line where they struggled against the Falcons in Sunday's game. So, this is a little, bonus for people watching the show on YouTube. If you're listening on the audio, you obviously won't be able to see the video. So watch us on YouTube, subscribe. But yeah, here's some of the struggles that we saw from the Saints in their game against the Falcons.
Mm-hmm.
Little play action there. coming up the middle.
Again, the penetration right up the middle in the quarterback's face, that's where the guards can be exploited. And even here in the shotgun, right? This is a situation where this is good coverage. And then if a kid comes around and gets the sack on Hurst. So there's nothing that helps a great pass rush like great coverage and vice versa. Great. There you see a
wide open.
Yeah, that's a blitz. You're going to see Jameis Winston get blitzed quite a bit. I think this is the game, too, where you're going to see Keanu Neal, right? We didn't see him outside of special teams. And as Todd Bowles kind of alluded to after the Cowboys game, the score and the way that the game was flowing, it allowed the Buccaneers to keep some of their tricks in the bag. And I think we're going to see a Keanu Neal package against the Saints this week. Not going to say any more than that, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see 22 on defense in this game doing some really interesting things. Some things that we saw in training camp that we might see the defensive package that Keanu Neal is featured in. And at the same time, too, Devin White is showing an awful lot of control, which is something that he lacked last year in blitzing. And so far, I mean, he's 2 for 2 in terms of getting home and beating the blocking back. That was Tony Pollard last week. The more that he shows the ability to, when his number's called, get to the quarterback and get him on the ground, the more green lights he's going to receive from Todd Bowles to do that, the more trust he's going to have. And let's not forget, what do you have, 9 sacks back in 2020
before he went on before he went on the COVID list. There's a good chance that he probably would have got double-digit sacks. Potentially could have led the Bucs in sacks that year.
He's already got 2 to start the season. He's got 16 more games to get 8 more sacks, and he's a double-digit sacker. I would not be surprised one bit if Devin White, at this pace, if he stays healthy, gets to 10 sacks. He just seems like a different player. Todd Bowles said on the Bucs podcast that was Devin White's best game, and I thought it was. Again, I don't understand the PFF grades. Pro Football Focus does some very good things, but I can't put my rubber stamp endorsement on everything that they do. I don't understand some of their pass protection grades. You clearly saw James Hurst give up a sack, the left tackle for the Saints. In a Pro Football Focus, they said he had an 89.1% or 89.1 grade in pass protection, and they didn't have him giving up a sack. Now, maybe that was a covered sack. It doesn't matter. Sometimes you still have to do your job and mirror and protect. And I don't know how they gave him a pass for that and saying that he didn't give up a sack. And the same thing, too. Devin White had a middling grade. I want to say it was in the 50s. I thought he was fantastic as a blitzer in terms of a tackler. He had 8 tackles. I didn't see him miss any tackles. He gave up, 3 catches for 28 yards? I'll take that all day in terms of pass coverage. I just thought it was a great start for Devin White. And if we can see that type of play from Devin White in week 2 and what is a homecoming for him being an LSU guy, I like the Bucs' chances.
Yeah, he had a funny answer today. Someone was like, "Oh, are you looking forward to like playing at home because he's from Louisiana and everything like that?" He's like, "My home is in Tampa Bay." Like he's downplaying the fact that he's that he's from Louisiana. It's very funny, Scott, because I remember when we spoke to like Larry Foote a couple of times again, but before like training camp got started. And that's obviously been one of the big adjustments for Devin White. Devin White was very accountable of himself, but we all talked about how Larry Foote could really be a huge help for Devin White. And Larry talked about the fact that being in that inside linebacker, there are some that you can get at quarterback a lot. He was saying that he was telling Devin that he doesn't have to be the guy that gets double-digit sacks or whatever it may be. But I think that tune might change a little bit, and not to the detriment of the Bucs defense at all by any means, but just the fact that was one of my gripes with Devin last year is that there was a lot of times he would blitz and then just get stonewalled by the running back. And I'm thinking, you're one of the fastest players on defense. You should not be getting stood up by running backs that are a lot smaller than you in stature. So to see him already win a couple of those battles blitzing, I think is super important and should hold up against the Saints too. And it's funny, like one of the only few mistakes, and I like Pro Football Focus, so I'm not I'm not dissing them by any means,
Right.
but I do think sometimes just the eye test is a little bit more important. Of
Yeah.
like when you actually see him out there and you're like, what are you talking about? He dominated out
Yeah.
there. One of the few mistakes he actually had was getting a stop on 4th down, but it was a pass breakup versus taking it to the house.
Pick six. Yeah,
or
exactly.
pick 6. And he was so mad about that after.
Yeah.
That was up for the game as well. And yeah, he was beating himself up over the fact that, first of all, he was like, oh, was it too high? And might have been Larry Foote, was one of the coaches, was like, no, it was right off your hands. You should have
It went right through your hands. He should have caught it. You know, that would have been an NFC Defensive Player of the Week moment right there. If he had a pick 6, 2 sacks, and 8 tackles, I mean, I think then we're getting him some honors. I will say this though, right? I mean, he's going to be entering his fifth year option. Devin White, if he keeps playing this way, he's going to be making a lot of money, and I know exactly where he can invest it and get some good returns.
At Amuni Financial, we help you live in the now.
Congratulations. We're so happy for you.
Thank you.
And even though the now may feel very different, you still need to plan for the future.
How's retirement treating you?
Oh, just fantastic.
I know I say it all the time, but you really got to come up to Colorado.
Let's do it.
All right.
Yeah.
We can help you develop that plan to keep you on track, so you can still prepare for tomorrow, today. Amuni Financial. Plan ahead, stay ahead.
Managing your family's wealth means more to Amuni Financial than simply allocating your assets. It means legacy planning, brokerage and advisory services, retirement accounts, college savings accounts, and insurance services. With 40 years of experience here in the Tampa Bay area, let Amuni Financial help you plan ahead and stay ahead. They can help you anywhere in the nation. So give them a call. Do what I did. I've got most of my financial investments and all of my personal assets with Amuni Financial. They'll treat you right. They'll give you the best information and way to navigate this economically uncertain time that we're living in right now. Give them a call at 1-800-868-6864 or visit them on the web at Amuni.com. You know, Matt, when I was looking at the Saints Falcons game footage, one of the players that really stood out to me a lot, well, two, one of which we know, that's Taysom Hill. He has been a thorn in the Bucs side for quite some time. The Saints did a pretty good job running the ball as well, but they got over 50 yards on one play from Taysom Hill running a wildcat.
Yep,
and then they scored on the next play doing the exact same type of quarterback run game where he's taking the snap from center and running it in. And the guy that really impressed me, and he also had a couple of catches in that game. I think he had 2 catches for 43 yards. That's tight end Juwan Johnson, number 83. He really impressed me as a run blocker and also as a receiver. He's a dangerous guy that kind of flies under the radar. You know, they have Chris Olave now, the first-round draft pick that's created a lot of buzz in New Orleans because of his speed. You got Jarvis Landry, the old savvy, crafty vet. Right. You have a 40-yard catch to kind of save the day and get the Saints into field goal position on that last game winner. 7 catches, 114 yards. You got Michael Thomas, who's back, 5 catches, 57 yards, 2 touchdowns. You always have to worry about Alvin Kamara, although I thought that the Falcons defense did a pretty good job against him on the ground, limiting him to 39 yards on just 9 carries, the long of 15, and 3 catches for 7 yards. Kamara wasn't the guy that beat him. But Taysom Hill, that 57-yard run, he ended up with 81 yards on the day. But Juwan Johnson, number 83, that's a guy that it kind of concerns me from a run blocking and a pass catching standpoint. And Taysom Hill, how are they going to use this guy? Right? Are they going to use him as a wildcat quarterback? More than likely, I'm sure we'll see some of that. That's given the Bucs some problems before. That's something Todd Bowles has acknowledged is, hey, Taysom Hill has given us some problems. We really haven't had much of an answer for him.
Taysom Hill was, as far as the run game went, like that was the thing that's had going for against the Falcons. I was surprised too, because the one big run that he had going along the the sideline on the right-hand side, I felt like the Falcons for a bit like had it covered. Like the defensive line was going the same direction. I was like, okay, they're going to stop him here. And then he just slipped through one of the holes and it was off to the races for that. So obviously that's something that the Bucs have to account for. They work on it a ton in practice, having a wide receiver be the practice squad quarterback. Like, how do you go and defend this? But I am curious when the Saints, because they'll do it at some point, is like Taysom Hill, they run it, and then he actually drops back for a pass. And he obviously does have passing prowess. He's not the most accurate guy in the league, but I am curious if they will, because it's so early in the season, just week 2, if they already play that card a little bit because it's an NFC South game with the number 1 team that you're going to be fighting for the division crown for, or if they still decide to keep it for later in the season, pull when you might need it a little bit more if offense begins to stall. As far as Kamara too, he's obviously a dangerous player, but since Todd Bowles has been here as the defensive play caller, in general, I think the Bucs have done a good job of containing him and really slowing him down. So you obviously want to get Jameis in those 3rd and long type of situations. They have some better receivers than they have in the past. That was something that you asked Todd Bowles about. If this weapon-wise is the best that the Saints have had for a couple of years. He didn't necessarily say that that's the case, but I at least
it looks like it to me.
Think so. If Thomas is healthy, he's still a really good receiver, despite what Carlton Davis will say about him. Olave had a key 2-point conversion catch, and I think he's only going to get better with more experience. So it's definitely a tougher offense than the Bucs played last week against Dallas. I mean, Dalton Schultz was like their lead receiver, and then you talked about Johnson, another tight end, but in this situation, more offensive weapons for the Saints and the Cowboys had. So definitely going to be a tougher matchup. We know Jameis loves to sling it, but we'll see Jameis.
Well, and speaking of Bucs Saints, we would be remiss if we didn't tell you that Pewter Game Day is coming your way. Matt Matera and Casey Hudson will be calling all the action, live in-game analysis at 1 o'clock. Before that is the Celsius Pewter Report tailgate show presented by Age Rejuvenation. That's live at Walk-Ons, and that's going to be at the Walk-Ons in Midtown, the new Midtown location, and that's in Tampa, just off of, it's close to Dale Mabry, and probably about 5 minutes away from the stadium. So make sure you join myself, JC Allen, Bailey Adams will be there. John Gilmore, former Bucs tight end, will actually be there as well. And he does, like me, we're clients of Age Rejuvenation. And we had a great time at the Wesley Chapel location. And we have Celsius out there giving free cans of Celsius away. We've got some Buccaneer apparel as well as Pewter Report gear to give away as well. So make sure you're joining us. There's drink specials at the Walk-Ons in Midtown, and you can, that's at 1140 Gramercy Lane in Tampa. And so we want you to come out and meet us, greet us, and we'll give you all of the Bucs Saints information and the latest news. We do have the injury report, which we'll get to right now. And for the Buccaneers, let's see. Players that were not participating today. Tom Brady did not participate. It was not injury related. Again, I think we're going to see this all season long, Matt. Wednesday is going to be his off day. Mike Evans had a calf injury, limited participation. Leonard Fournette, hamstring, limited participation. Russell Gage, hamstring, limited participation. A lot of these are precautionary. I don't think they're going to really affect the Bucs on game day. Chris Godwin did not participate. That's no surprise. Same with Donovan Smith and Zion McCollum, who's still dealing with the hamstring injury. Tristan Wirfs' abdomen was limited. He, of course, played wire to wire in that game. So did Julio Jones with a knee. He did not participate as well. But again, I don't think that's anything to be concerned about. Really, it's going to be on Thursday's report. See how some of these guys return to practice.
Yeah.
For the Saints, Cam Jordan was limited with the hip. Alvin Kamara, ribs, limited. Marcus May, the safety, limited with an ankle. Traquan Smith, shoulder, limited. Dwayne Washington, limited as well. Jameis Winston, back, limited. Landon Young with the hip was limited. Mark Ingram, the running back, with an ankle, limited. Calvin Throckmorton, illness, limited. And Alante Taylor, limited with the hip. And Paulson Adebo, ankle, cornerback, did not participate on Wednesday. So a lot of guys that are out, not feeling so good. And you know what? I wasn't feeling so good either as I turned 50 years old until I went to Age Rejuvenation. And I'll tell you what, folks, it's made a big difference for me.
As we age, our hormones decrease, both for men and women.
I was tired all the time, had no sex drive.
I was groggy.
I felt like I was 80 years old because everything hurt.
I came to Age Rejuvenation because I was tired all the time.
Bioidentical hormones has really made such an impact in people's lives.
I actually enjoy shopping now.
Got all my energy back.
Mind is sharp.
I feel like I'm 18 again.
It was perfect for me.
Get with Age Rejuvenation. Do it now. Don't wait.
Call Age Rejuvenation today.
Guys, that's John Gilmore, former Buccaneer. He's on our Pewter Report tailgate show, and he's been a client of Age Rejuvenation for about a year now. And he told me about it, man, you got to try Age Rejuvenation. It makes a big difference in your energy level and with your mental alertness and losing weight. And I became an Age Rejuvenation customer about a month ago. And it takes about 2 or 3 weeks for the pellets to kick in. But boy, I feel better. And where I first noticed it was I started sleeping better. I've not been sleeping well for the past 2 years, having to take melatonin and all these things to help get to sleep and stay asleep. And I'm telling you, the Age Rejuvenation, the testosterone therapy, that's the first area I noticed. I'm sleeping great at night. And that's a huge key thing for energy. And that's something that as we get older, guys, it's natural. It happens. So if you want to feel better, go to Age Rejuvenation. Lose weight, feel great, have better sex. You might have seen Age Rejuvenation as the new sponsor of my SR's Fab 5 column on pewterreport.com. Well, I'm a new Age Rejuvenation customer too. Thankfully, don't have any issues in the bedroom, but I did turn 50 and energy has become a problem. It turns out I had low testosterone, like most men in their 40s and 50s. It's just nature, fellas, and it doesn't get any easier in your 60s or 70s either. Low testosterone affects everything from weight loss to energy to stamina. But now there's a way to fight it. And that's what I did with the testosterone therapy at Age Rejuvenation. I've got more energy as a result. Visit agerejuvenation.com. They've got 5 Tampa Bay area locations to serve you. Lose weight, feel great, have better sex with Age Rejuvenation.
You could see John Gilmore, of course, on the Pewter Report tailgate show coming up on Sunday. As we mentioned before, it'll be on at the Walk-Ons in Midtown this week. Very excited for that. We, of course, have another show coming up tomorrow. JC Allen and myself will be on. We'll be having a guest on as well, former NFL player who played for the Saints for a while, wide receiver Terrence Copper. He has his own Saints podcast, so he'll give us a little more in-depth analysis about the Saints. But should be exciting stuff. Good to have JC on again as well. Make sure you check out his show, Touchback Tuesdays with Antoine Winfield Jr. If you haven't watched that yet, it was a really great show. It's it's about 13 minutes, so it's pretty quick in and out, but a lot of great insight from Antoine Winfield Jr. And if you like this show and all the other content and information that we put on our YouTube channel at pewterreport.com, just do us a favor. Hit the like button, subscribe. Just gives you a heads up, a little head nod when we got stuff coming out. Just a little nod for you, and gets you a little more information about the Bucs, and of course, pewterreport.com and Pewter Report.
One comment about this real quick from Long Lost Leisure. The only testimonial I'll believe about Scott's Age Rejuvenation Clinic better come from Ashley Reynolds herself. Actually, my wife Ashley will be doing Age Rejuvenation. She's already had her initial consultation. She has hit the 40-year-old mark, and that same things are hormonally happening with women that they do with men, a little bit different, but same type of results with energy and all of that. So she's actually become a client of Age Rejuvenation too. So she will be giving her testimonial and also validating mine in a couple weeks on our Pewter Report tailgate show. That's part of the deal. So stay tuned for that. We'll have her make her Pewter Report debut here on the tailgate show, and she'll tell you all about it.
There you go. Some more good stuff, some more good things to look forward to. So for Scott Reynolds, I'm Matt Matera saying thank you, everybody, for watching, and we will see you tomorrow for another edition of the Pewter Report podcast. Out.
It's going to be the best one yet.
Yes, it will.